problem is that, be that with users that are around the globe, or be that with local teams, still different companies, if you're thinking of setting up something where you say, right, we're going to be using Revit server and people are going to be working on our local hardware, things get a little bit challenging when it comes to the IT setup, and especially the expenses around hardware. You need a decent server, you need to open up firewalls and routers, etc., etc. So what we really want to do is, again, viewing that future of making things and the way people do want to collaborate, is we want to make this as easy as possible for customers. So hence comes collaboration for Revit. So as I mentioned, collaboration for Revit is sort of the next level up from work sharing. The philosophy is still the same, which I'll talk about in a second. It's still about work sets. It's still about having different people all hooked up to that same central file. But there's a small difference, if you will, that you'll see in a second. So let's go back in history. Sort of the first thing that we did with a collaborative environment was where different people were working on what we call central model in a local area network. So all of these users were indeed actually in the same sort of room, if you will, same building, and they could exchange information with one another. For those of you who do not know work sets, basically the idea is, in a nutshell, it's very similar actually to layers, if you will, in AutoCAD. So you can have different layers, you can lock them, you can view them, etc., etc. Same sort of thing happens with work sets. So you can give them separate names, you can name them whatever you like. The main difference with AutoCAD is that I can actually claim such a layer, and we call them work sets. So I can claim a work set, which means that I can work locally into changing that file and uploading the changes to that central model, if you will. And that central model is then being used to either give those changes across to another user, or that user can also upload his changes to that central model. That's sort of the concept. And you'll see that in action with collaboration for Revit in a second or so. So that was the first, if you will, installment of work sharing. Local area network, which is fine, but very soon questions came into Autodesk. Well, we've got different locations. So how does that work then? Well, if you're going to have a central model somewhere, and this Revit file from this specific user sitting in some other location is going to push all the changes up to that central file, it's going to be data intensive, if you will. So we needed to come up with a different solution, which is truly what Revit Server is all about. So that was the second installment of that collaborative environment, work sets, if you will. So what we had is a sort of caching technology between that central file, which is still there, that's that central file, and where we have in those local locations, in this case, as an example, Chicago and Boston, we have what we call an accelerator, a Revit server accelerator, which is caching the geometry, which means that in the background, we're sending across geometry. And by the way, this is based upon delta transfer, so we're not sending across the whole file, only the changes that one of these users has done, that's what's being sent across. So that's fine, but as you can see, it needs servers, it needs accelerators, it needs opening up firewalls, etc., etc. So that's why when implementing this for multiple companies, as Autodesk, we weren't very keen on people trying that out, even though in theory it is possible to just open up firewalls, making sure that you open up port 808, which is the communication between all of this. And we've seen some successful stories in the past of multiple companies working together that way. But I would say that there is a real a high level of trust, if you will, between those different companies and the hardware that comes with it. So before diving into collaboration for Revit, it's fine that, and you'll see that happen in a second, it's fine that we came up with a different and easier solution to set up collaboration between different users in different companies. But with that comes another challenge, which is the communication between these different users. So it's fine if you're a team and you're sitting within one local area network with the file-based work sharing, that first install, if you will, of work sets. it becomes a bit more challenging when we're talking about Revit Server, because now people could indeed be sitting across the globe, if you will, synchronizing their data to that central file. And things go really awry if we have multiple Revit users in multiple companies all working on that same Revit model. So we needed some form of collaboration to go with the technology, if you will, to support work sets between companies. And therefore, within Collaboration for Revit, or Skyscraper as it was called before as a project name or a code name, we have something called the Skyscraper Communicator, or the Collaboration for Revit Communicator, which you'll see also in action during the demo. So really what we've done is we've taken, again, that same technology, that same Revit, if you will, where we communicate with a central file. But really what we've done is there's only one location, if you will, where we can have multiple companies, multiple users communicate with one another, and that's truly in the cloud. So what we've done with Collaboration for Revit is we've taken that central file out of that first installment, which was a central file on a local drive, say a P drive. We've taken that philosophy from that second install where it was Revit Server and we needed to install a server. We really moved up to the next level, if you will, the third installment of work sets, work sharing, and we've taken that central file and we're using it inside of the cloud. So basically what will happen, what you'll see in a second, is that that central file is going to live on A360 Team, which means that we can open it up to all other sorts of disciplines. Again, I'll talk about that later on, but it means that we truly take that central file, and this is now your sort of life link to the design of the building. It lives in the cloud, and people can A, design on it, but B, can consult this information. Again, during the demo, you'll see all of this happening.